After losing my memories, I found a contact saved as boyfriend in my phone. After hesitating again and again, I dialed the number. Excuse me, are you my boyfriend? There was a moment of silence on the other end, followed by a lazy, pleasant male voice. Of course, baby. It wasn't until I regained my memory that I realized with a shock. I had mistaken my secret crush for my boyfriend. The strange thing is, doesn't my crush hate guys like us the most? Chapter 1. I stared at the contact saved as boyfriend on my phone screen, my brow furrowed tight. After hesitating for a long time, I carefully pressed the call button. The phone rang only twice before it was picked up. I hurriedly asked, "Hello? Excuse me, are you my boyfriend?" There was complete silence on the other end. I didn't call the wrong number, did I? Just as my heart began to drum nervously, a languid male voice came through. Of course, baby. This intimate and natural form of address made me let out a sigh of relief. Good, I didn't find the wrong person. Seems I really do have a boyfriend. Then could you come pick me up at People's Hospital? Ward F01? Are you sick? I explained, feeling a bit embarrassed. I hit my head when I went out today. I suddenly forgot some things, but the doctor said my brain is fine. For safety's sake, the doctor said a family member needs to pick me up before I can leave. My parents are out of town, so a boyfriend should count as family, right? The other end fell silent for a moment again, and then the person comforted me softly. Don't be scared. I'll be there right away. With those words, I finally felt less panicked. Ever since being sent to the hospital, my mind had been a mess, my memories nothing but fragments. The doctor said I had temporarily forgotten some things due to excessive stress and fear. The most ridiculous part was that I had actually forgotten I had a boyfriend. I didn't know what my boyfriend looked like, but with a voice that sounded this good, he should look pretty good too, right? After all, I'm obsessed with good looks. Just as I was nervously picking at my fingers, the ward door was pushed open by a tall boy. He was dressed all in black, and his face was so handsome it seemed like God had played favorites when creating him. His features were clear and bright, his temperament noble. I froze. Huh? Isn't this the school hunk from our university, Senior Derek? Why is he here? I was still in a daze when Derek stood before me. He looked me up and down. There was an emotion in his eyes I couldn't understand. Suddenly, he leaned down, getting so close I could clearly see his pitch-black pupils. What are you spacing out for, baby? His lazy voice was exactly the same as on the phone. Seems he really is my boyfriend, but I still couldn't quite believe it. You're really my boyfriend? Although I've forgotten some things, I still remember your name is Derek, you're a student at our school, and you're straight. Derek's gaze didn't change as he calmly explained. I was indeed straight before, but it was love at first sight with you. I bent on the spot. I had to chase you for a long time before I won you over. As he spoke, he took his phone out of his pocket and lit up the screen. The lock screen wallpaper was actually a photo of me. You insisted I change it to this. You'd throw a tantrum and act spoiled if I didn't. Was I really that clingy when I was in a relationship? I blinked, finding it a bit hard to believe. Sorry, I really don't remember. Derek patted my head, his voice turning gentler. It doesn't matter, as long as you're still by my side. This direct romantic line made my ears burn. I subconsciously nuzzled his hand, feeling like a well-behaved little animal. Derek was completely my ideal type. A handsome, outstanding, favored son of heaven, yet gentle only to me. This gave my chaotic heart something to rely on today. While Derek went to talk to the doctor about my condition, I opened my camera to sneak a photo of his back. Since he had set me as his lock screen, I should do the same. Derek was so good-looking that a casual snap looked like a magazine cover. But just as I was happily preparing to change my wallpaper, I accidentally discovered a secret hidden in my phone's gallery. It was a pile of photos. All of them were of Derek. Him eating, him playing basketball, him in class. I was actually this obsessed with him? I pursed my lips in embarrassment, but my doubts lessened a little more. At that moment, my cheek was gently pinched, and Derek's smiling voice rang out. What are you giggling at? Blushing, I handed the phone to him. Derek, I have so many photos of you in my phone. Derek's expression suddenly froze. He stared fixedly at my phone screen, his eyes becoming complex and unreadable. I thought he felt I took bad photos, so I quickly apologized. Sorry, I'll just delete them. Don't be mad, Derek. Derek seemed to suddenly snap back to reality and stopped me. No need to delete them. Keep them. I was afraid you'd think I took bad photos. No, they're taken very well. Because I didn't know you liked me this much. That makes me very happy, baby. Derek's voice was a little hoarse. The emotional fluctuation and heat in his eyes didn't seem fake, as if he was excited to have suddenly found a treasure. I let out a sigh of relief. It seemed Derek really liked me and I really liked him. This warmed my heart, and I obediently followed Derek back to school. However, when he walked me to my dorm room, we found my roommates were all there. Bert, who was facing the door, saw me and greeted me with a smile. "Arnold, where did you go, Todd?" "What? Senior Derek?" His voice suddenly pitched up when he saw Derek behind me, causing the other roommates to look over in surprise. It was as if it were very strange for Derek to appear here. Confused, I turned to look at Derek standing beside me. Huh? My roommates, whom I lived with every day, didn't know about my relationship with Derek? Derek is my boyfriend. It's normal for him to walk me back, right? The expressions on my roommates' faces became even more bewildered. "Since when are you dating? Wait, since when do you like guys?" So Senior Derek is also. Chapter 2. Looking at my roommates' surprised faces, I suddenly realized the situation was wrong. Oh no, it seems my roommates didn't know about my sexual orientation at all. That sentence I just said was tantamount to directly revealing my secret, spilling out everything I had worked so hard to hide before. This amnesia is really doing me dirty. Just as I was at a loss for what to do, my tightly clenched hand was suddenly held by a large, warm hand. Derek spoke up unhurriedly. "Sorry to disturb you. I am indeed Arnold's boyfriend. He was worried you guys would mind, so he never told anyone. If you have any thoughts about it, you can tell me directly. Don't scare him." Derek's family background was very good, and few people in the school dared to mess with him. So even though his words were polite and even carried a hint of a smile, they still felt a bit intimidating. My roommates shivered and hurriedly said ingratiatingly, No, we were just a bit surprised. Senior, come in and sit. It's so cold outside." Derek nodded politely and pulled me inside, as if he were the owner of this place. Seeing him so calm, I slowly relaxed too. Thank goodness Derek is here, otherwise, I really wouldn't know what to do today. I couldn't help but rely on him even more, my gaze following him constantly. When Derek was explaining my amnesia and illness to my roommates, he suddenly glanced at me with a faint smile and gently pinched my cheek. The action was a bit frivolous yet intimate, but his expression remained serious. "If he feels uncomfortable, call me. I'll answer no matter how late it is." My roommates nodded in agreement repeatedly. Soon Derek had to leave. I was still hesitating whether to walk him downstairs when he pulled me out of the dorm room, leaving my roommates behind with gossip written all over their faces. With red ears, I followed Derek to the bottom of the boys' dormitory building. Luckily, there weren't many people around at this time. "Derek, you should go back and rest early." Derek raised an eyebrow and said with a teasing tone, "Baby, what did you call me?" "Derek. You didn't call me that before." I blinked and asked a bit embarrassedly, "Sorry, I really forgot. Can you remind me?" The corners of Derek's mouth curled up slightly. "You used to call me hubby." I was completely stunned. "So intimate. We are both guys. Isn't it a bit weird to call each other that?" My lips moved, but I was too embarrassed to say it out loud. Fortunately, Derek didn't make things difficult for me and gave me a way out. "It's okay. Changing the address is fine too." Change the address? Several intimate terms flashed through my mind, and finally, I stopped on one. So I tentatively called out, "Honey." As soon as the words fell, I saw Derek's eyes change, and then I heard him curse softly. "Arnold, you're so good." I blushed and didn't dare to speak, my eyes wandering everywhere, because I felt like Derek wanted to kiss me. But he didn't do anything else, just told me to rest well. "Go back inside. I'll pick you up for class tomorrow morning." I nodded obediently, then had my head patted by him for a long time, like petting a kitten. After he turned to leave, I walked toward the dorm. I couldn't help but look back, only to find Derek throwing something into the trash can. It was a tissue soaked with sweat. Huh? What was someone as confident as Derek nervous about? Sudden amnesia today, then gaining such an excellent boyfriend, and then publicly coming out. It all happened too fast. Before I could react after returning to the dorm, I was surrounded by my smiling roommates. But I didn't remember anything, so I couldn't really say much. My roommates cracked a few jokes and then let me rest. Thankfully, they didn't mind that I liked guys. I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. The day's experiences were like a roller coaster, leaving me physically and mentally exhausted. So I fell asleep as soon as my head hit the pillow. As a result, I dreamed of Derek, but it was a completely different Derek from today. He wasn't by my side but in the crowd. Surrounded by everyone, he looked confident and flamboyant. Half of his face was bathed in the setting sun, so handsome it left one speechless. My roommate Bert next to me whispered, "Arnold, see that guy? That's Senior Derek, a grade above us. Heard he was the top scorer in the college entrance exam that year. His family is super rich, and he looks like a celebrity. Sigh, why can't I be a winner in life like him?" I smiled, wanting to tell him this was my boyfriend, but I couldn't make a sound. Just as I was anxious to speak, Derek was already being escorted away by a group of boys. From beginning to end, he didn't even glance at me. Cold and aloof, completely different from his gentleness toward me today. I got anxious. Why was Derek ignoring me? In my anxiety, the scene in front of me suddenly changed to the library. I saw Derek forgot his library card when borrowing books. The librarian was stubborn. No card, no borrowing. When the atmosphere was deadlocked, I mustered up the courage and handed over my own library card. Derek paused, playing with my library card while glancing at me sideways. The corners of his eyes tilted up slightly, looking very attractive. "Arnold, thanks." I wanted to say "you're welcome," but still couldn't make a sound. Just as I was getting anxious, the scene changed again to outside the basketball court. I saw a delicate-looking boy confessing to Derek. People around were jeering, but Derek dribbled the basketball without looking up, just saying one word indifferently, "Scram." The boy's face turned pale, and he left awkwardly. As he passed by me, I was still in a daze. At this moment, Derek seemed to sense something and looked up at me. His brows furrowed slightly, his look a bit strange. I involuntarily kept a straight face and turned to leave, as if I hated this farce. But my heart felt a pang of bitterness. Is this my past memory? Or just a dream? If it's a real memory, doesn't Derek hate homosexuals? Then why did he become my boyfriend? It's so messy. Something seems wrong. These questions made my sleep very restless until someone gently shook me awake. I was still a bit groggy. Bert poked me again. "Arnold, your forehead is covered in sweat. Are you feeling unwell?" I panted and shook my head. "I'm fine. Just slept a bit too deeply." "That's good. Get up quickly. Derek has been waiting for you downstairs for ages." "Derek?" I quickly climbed up to look out the window. Derek was standing leisurely by a small flower bed, looking as handsome as a person in a pictorial. His eyes were staring straight at the bottom of our dormitory building, looking to be in a good mood. Bert joked from the side again. "Bro, how did you catch such a big shot? He even brought you breakfast. Turns out love between guys can be this sweet too. Don't know how many girls are going to be jealous." "I don't remember, but he said he chased me." "Holy crap, for real? That can be written into your life resume." I smiled awkwardly, secretly breathing a sigh of relief. Seems last night was just a dream, and dreams are the opposite of reality. The uneasiness in my heart slowly disappeared. After washing up simply, I hurriedly ran downstairs. "Derek, sorry, I overslept." When Derek saw me, he stood a little straighter. His tone was lazy, dragging out the syllables. "Forgot what we agreed on last night again?" I pursed my lips embarrassedly and whispered, "Honey." Derek was satisfied and raised his hand to pat my head. But at this moment, quite a few students were passing by. His hand paused, and finally he just helped me flatten a stray hair sticking up. Polite and not liable to be misunderstood. Intimate but stopping at the right point. A trace of uneasiness still lingered in my heart. Not knowing where the courage came from, I leaned directly into him. Derek was stunned. "Being so proactive, aren't you afraid of others seeing?" I knew what he meant. He was afraid that if we were too intimate, people would gossip. After all, this kind of thing still attracted attention. Facing the surprised gazes of those around us, I looked at him with trust. Not afraid. Actually, I was still a little scared and uneasy inside. I was afraid that the cold Derek in my dream last night was the real one, making me feel he was out of reach. Only by being closer to him did I feel at ease. Derek walked me to the door of my major class. He had class too, so he left first. I watched his lazy back, then turned and walked into the classroom. Without exaggeration, in an instant, I felt countless gazes hitting me like spotlights. Coughing lightly, I carried the breakfast Derek bought and slowly sat down. Whispered discussions immediately arose around me. My name, Derek's name, and the word homosexual appeared frequently. Alright, school gossip really spreads fast. Chapter 3. I lowered my head to sip my soy milk while scrolling through gossip posts on the school forum. Just then, a few classmates came over to ask why I took leave yesterday. I really couldn't remember who they were, but I still politely gave a simple answer that I was sick. Then, I pretended not to see the gossipy looks in their eyes. Fortunately, the professor arrived quickly, and the whispering died down. However, throughout the class, People still turned to look at me from time to time. I calmly let them stare, waiting only for class to end so I could go find Derek. As soon as the bell rang, I stood up only to be blocked by a tall guy. Arnold, since you're gay, why did you reject me back then? At these words, the students who were packing up slowed down. Those on their phones typed even faster, looking excited as if sending live updates. Under everyone's gaze, I looked up at this boy. I couldn't remember him. I really couldn't. He couldn't be anyone important. After all, even with amnesia, I'd probably have some impression of a classmate this brainless. So, I asked with reasonable politeness, "Excuse me, who are you?" The boy froze for a moment, and then his face twisted in anger. "Oh, pretending not to know me? For Derek's money? Have you no shame at all?" No matter how good my temper was, I realized now that this person was here to pick a fight. My face instantly turned cold. Just as I put down my bag to argue with him, a familiar, lazy voice came from the classroom doorway. "I'm the one desperate to have him with me. What business is it of yours?" The boy, who had been aggressive just a moment ago, instantly deflated like a chicken being choked by the neck. He wanted to say something more, but under Derek's expressionless stare, he slunk away with his tail between his legs. I quickly grabbed my bag and trotted over to Derek. I didn't know how much he had heard or if he would overthink it. I lowered my head, wanting to explain. "That guy just now." But Derek asked me a different question. "Are you hungry, baby?" I didn't react immediately. "Huh. Shall we go get something good to eat?" I fell silent for a moment, then looked up and gave him a well-behaved smile. "Okay." Derek trusted me. He was so good. Feeling sweet inside, I followed Derek out of the classroom, only to run into a few boys laughing exaggeratedly. "Yo, Derek, you actually succeeded? I thought the group chat was just talking nonsense." "Hi, Junior. We're Derek's roommates. He looks like a player, but he's actually very devoted. Ever since he set eyes on you in the library, he's been thinking about how to stage accidental run-ins every day. He's practically a textbook secret admirer." "Exactly. He even calls your name in his sleep, but was too chicken to confess to you." Ha ha ha. Exposed, Derek looked at them impatiently. "If you have business, speak up. If not, get lost." All right, we won't disturb your date with the junior. We're going." "Bye, Junior." I smiled and waved goodbye to them, feeling warm inside. So this was what Derek was like in private. I tugged on Derek's sleeve and couldn't help but ask, "Derek, why didn't you just confess to me back then?" Derek held my hand in his as we walked out, answering unhurriedly, "I thought you were afraid of homosexuality." I finally understood. So he had misunderstood, which was why he resorted to being a secret admirer. But luckily, we ended up together in the end. Ignoring the gazes of others, whether kind or malicious, I happily leaned closer to him. Derek and I continued dating like this. It was sweet and intimate. The hype about our relationship on the school forum was soon overshadowed by the pressure of final exams. This made me breathe a sigh of relief. At least people weren't constantly discussing me anymore. But as time went on, I gradually grew a bit confused. Derek seemed to have very little intimate contact with me. At most, he would hold my hand or pat my head. Even hugs were rare. Shouldn't normal couples kiss? Does he prefer a platonic relationship? But the way he looked at me was clearly so intense it seemed like fire would burst out. It wasn't reserved at all. Yet I was too embarrassed to ask. What was he worried about? I kept this question bottled up inside until it gave me insomnia. Until one day it was one of Derek's roommates' birthdays. He took me along to dinner, and the atmosphere was lively. It drew looks from everyone around, especially since Derek was so eye-catching. Sitting next to Derek, I was a bit distracted and accidentally took a sip of alcohol. Just that one small sip, and I immediately started feeling dizzy. Oh, turns out I'm a lightweight. I covered my face in discomfort and didn't speak. Derek quickly noticed something was wrong. "Did you drink?" "MMH. I hummed a slow response. I vaguely heard Derek chuckle softly. Then he turned and said something to his roommates, drawing a round of laughter. Later, I felt someone carry me on their back. That back was broad and strong, emitting a familiar, pleasant scent. It made me feel safe and I drifted into drowsiness. When I woke up again, I found myself sitting in my dorm room. The room was quiet. My roommates weren't there. My boyfriend, Derek, was squatting in front of me, taking off my shoes. This position was a bit unique, making my already groggy head even fuzzier. I couldn't help but call out to him. "Derek." He just looked up at me briefly. Even though my brain wasn't clear, I immediately corrected myself. "Honey, what's wrong? Do you feel sick?" I shook my head and whispered, "No, I want to do something." "Do what?" Derek stood up and sat down next to me. When he looked down at me, there was a captivating quality to his gaze. I looked at him dizzily, my vision involuntarily moving downward. Finally, it landed on his lips. As the saying goes, alcohol gives courage to cowards, so I spoke my thoughts directly. I want to kiss you. Can I? After I spoke, the dorm room fell silent. Derek's eyes suddenly became very hot. So hot my neck turned red. But after waiting a while, he didn't move. I thought he was waiting for me to make the move, so I leaned toward him directly. But just as I was about to kiss him, my forehead was gently blocked by a finger. Then, Derek said in a slightly hoarse voice, "Arnold, you can't. Because I'm already being greedy enough." I blinked in confusion. I didn't understand what he meant. Later, he seemed to say something else. But the alcohol hit me, so I just whined a couple of times and fell back asleep. In my days, I felt someone taking care of me carefully. I turned over comfortably. Having a boyfriend is great, even if I can't kiss him. Chapter 4. Waking up the next day, I stared blankly at the dormitory ceiling for a good while. Then, I slowly shrank under the covers and screamed silently. What the hell? What on earth did I do last night? I actually tried to get handsy with someone. Even more awkward was that I got rejected by Derek. The thought made me want to find a hole in the ground and bury myself immediately. After the wave of shame passed, my imagination started running wild again. Why did Derek reject me? Has he been playing me this whole time? The more I thought about it, the worse I felt. Getting out of bed to go wash up, I wasn't paying attention and slipped. My whole body hit the floor uncontrollably, and my head took a heavy knock. SSS. I gasped in pain. Just my luck. No one seemed to be in the dorm. I struggled to crawl up, but a wave of dizziness washed over me. A flood of memory fragments suddenly rushed into my brain, disorganized and chaotic. In the confusion, my vision went black, and I passed out. When I woke up again, I was in the hospital. My roommate, Bert, was sitting beside me. Oh my God! Arnold, you're finally awake. My already chaotic brain felt even more confused. Bert? Why am I in the hospital? We came back from an all-night gaming session and saw you lying motionless on the floor as soon as we walked in. We rushed you to the hospital. Don't worry, you just bumped your head. It's nothing serious. Your boyfriend will be here any minute. My hand, which was rubbing my forehead, froze. I was dumbfounded. My boyfriend? Since when do I have a boyfriend? Now it was Bert's turn to be stunned. No way. Your boyfriend is Derek, the campus heartthrob. You guys went out for a romantic dinner just yesterday. Derek. He's my boyfriend. I was completely stupefied, and my head throbbed even harder. Two sets of memories intertwined, making it impossible for me to distinguish which was reality and which was a dream. Just then, a boy with an anxious expression walked into the ward. He was very handsome, but his brow was furrowed tight. It was Derek. Seeing me sitting there in a daze, he sighed, walked over immediately to hug me, and comforted me in a low voice. His clean, refreshing scent made my mind go blank. If I had known, I should have stayed with you last night. Does it still hurt? Baby? Baby? Derek called me baby? My brain buzzed, and my heart beat rapidly. Bert chuckled from the side and said, "Well, I won't disturb you two then. By the way, Senior Derek, Arnold seemed a bit off just now. He actually forgot he had a boyfriend." With that, he tactfully left the room. However, Derek, who was hugging me, went stiff. After a moment, he slowly let go of me and maintained a polite distance. I looked up at him and found his handsome face filled with chagrin and helplessness. He looked nothing like his usual confident, flamboyant self. He asked with a strained voice, "Arnold, do you remember now?" Blushing, I nodded. I remember most of it. I remembered that I had always secretly liked Derek, but because I was afraid he would be repulsed, I never dared to confess. I could only secretly save his contact information as boyfriend. After losing my memory, I actually mistook my secret crush for my real boyfriend. The fact that I liked him was completely exposed. But he didn't deny it. Instead, he really accepted the role. He treated me well and said he liked me. He even let me call him honey. This was something I wouldn't have dared to dream of. I moved my mouth awkwardly, wanting to confirm something, but didn't know how to say it. "I'm sorry." Derek apologized suddenly, staring at me unblinkingly. My eyelashes trembled. "It's okay. It was my fault." Then, there was silence. Suddenly, Derek clicked his tongue. He leaned in closer again and asked with a hint of stubbornness, "Arnold, can we still date then?" I avoided his gaze, my voice muddled. I don't know. I really didn't know how to face Derek. Before the amnesia, I had a crush on him. After the amnesia, I found out he liked me too and became my boyfriend. It made me happy, but it also felt unreal and I felt a bit guilty. So, I wanted to wait until my head was completely clear before having a proper talk with him. This was being responsible to him and also to myself. Derek seemed to sense my unease. He didn't tease me like before, but his gaze remained direct and passionate. After accompanying me back to school from the hospital, Derek brought me breakfast every day and picked me up after class. If I casually mentioned a snack, he would spend half a day running to the other side of the city to buy it. If my shoelace came untied while walking, he would naturally squat down to tie it for me. People around us were stunned. It made me blush and my heart race. Somehow, I always felt like a docile little rabbit, and he was the big wolf staring at me. With him watching, there was no way to run. Derek's behavior, both flamboyant and considerate, revitalized the school's long-silent online forum topic about us. Did they break up? Haven't seen them holding hands in a long time. Break up? No way. This couple is even more clingy now. Help? Who gets it? Derek looks like such a simp right now. When is Arnold holding a class on how to tame a god-tier hunk? I'll listen on my knees. Just got fed dog food, PDA, at Lover's Lake. I saw it too. Arnold seemed to have got sand in his eye. The corners of his eyes were red. It looked so cute I wanted to steal him from Derek. That last comment was deleted by the forum admin 5 seconds later. Coincidentally, Derek was the admin. When Bert showed me these, he couldn't help asking, "What's the situation with you and Senior Derek now? A lot of people are secretly asking me if you broke up." At that time, I was reading a message from Derek. Hearing this, the corners of my mouth turned down. I looked a bit downcast. We didn't break up, but we aren't officially dating either. Bert looked confused. Huh? What does that mean? Did you fight? I told him everything that happened before and after the amnesia, wanting to hear an outsider's opinion. After listening, Bert exclaimed that Derek sure had a lot of tricks up his sleeve. But then he said something else. But since you guys like each other, the process doesn't matter. Then what matters? The result, obviously. Chapter 5. Bert's words served as a wake-up call. I had always felt that, in a relationship, the process mattered more than the result. But looking at it from another angle, since Derek and I liked each other, why waste time beating around the bush? Why not just be happily together? Having figured this out, I planned to confess my feelings to Derek. Unexpectedly, he beat me to it by inviting me on a road trip and camping adventure. His roommates and a few good friends came along too. These guys were very close with Derek. Along the way, it looked like they were teasing us, but they were actually playing wingmen. I smiled and let them make their jokes. When I got too embarrassed, I would look at Derek, and he would give them a kick to shut them up, which only resulted in louder jeers. When we arrived at the campsite, we played Truth or Dare. When I was picked, the boys smirked and told Derek and me to go spend 10 minutes in the small woods nearby. It was basically 7 minutes in heaven. I pursed my lips, stood up, and walked toward the woods, with familiar footsteps soon following behind me. The woods at night were quiet and deep, filled only with the sound of our breathing and a faint light coming from the campsite. I felt we had walked far enough, so I stopped, intending to seize the chance to talk to him. Unexpectedly, Derek spoke first. "Arnold." My back stiffened, and I slowly turned to look at him. The light was dim. His head was lowered, casting half his face in shadow and half in light. "What's wrong? There are bugs flying around like crazy over there. Come closer. I'm a guy. Why would I be afraid of bugs?" Despite my words, my body honestly leaned toward him. As a result, I tripped over a protruding tree root and fell straight toward Derek. Derek reached out and pulled me into his arms, a cool, crisp scent washing over me. After I steadied myself, I hurriedly thanked him. "Thank you. Just saying thanks is boring. How about something practical?" His tone was flippant, and I instinctively wanted to push him away. "What do you want to do?" "I want to kiss you." I still remembered him not letting me kiss him before, so I deliberately said, "No." Derek didn't speak. He just looked at me. My heart softened, and I stammered, "Then, just for a second." But just as I was about to look up and kiss him, the ground suddenly shook. Branches fell, birds and insects flew in a panic, and screams and rumbling noises came from the campsite in the distance. My heart instantly jumped to my throat. "Earthquake! Careful!" I was stunned. An earthquake. People tend to freeze subconsciously when facing danger. But before I could react, Derek was already dragging me toward open ground. His usual lazy expression had vanished, replaced by an intense seriousness that made me feel safe. Fortunately, we weren't far from the campsite, and we ran back quickly. Just as I was about to breathe a sigh of relief, Derek suddenly shoved me hard. I fell awkwardly to the ground, and behind me came the loud crash of a large tree falling. Ignoring the pain, I looked back to see Derek lying beside the tree, unconscious. In that moment, I felt my blood freeze. I scrambled over to him. Derek! No reaction. I didn't dare delay. I mustered all my strength to carry him on my back and walked toward our friends. As I stumbled forward, I remembered how steady and strong Derek was when he carried me. My nose stung, but I forced back the tears. Luckily, we ran into Derek's roommates who were coming to find us, and the earthquake happened to stop. We hurriedly drove down the mountain, but there were too many tourists trying to leave, and the road was gridlocked. I sat in the car holding Derek's head, burning with anxiety. Arnold, don't panic. The news says it was a magnitude 5 quake. The road isn't badly damaged, and rescue teams are on their way. Cut the crap. Someone go ask the cars ahead to make way, or Derek is going to be in trouble. His friends got out one by one to plead for a path. Just then, Derek stirred in my arms and let out a low, hoarse groan of pain. SSS. I was surprised and overjoyed. Derek, you're awake? Does your head still hurt? Hearing the commotion, his roommate immediately ducked back into the car. Damn, Derek is tough. Hit by a tree and still fine. As expected of the most handsome man at University A. Amidst the noise, Derek slowly opened his eyes and looked at my face, which was full of relief and joy. Under my expectant gaze, he frowned and asked coldly, "Who are you?" Everyone froze. I was completely at a loss. Derek got hit by a tree and got amnesia? What kind of soap opera cliché is this? Are we taking turns having amnesia now? When I lost my memory, he became my boyfriend. Now that he's lost his memory, he doesn't know me anymore. My eyes instantly turned red, and my nose tingled. Just then, the look in Derek's eyes changed. He suddenly sat up, smiled, hugged me, and raised his hand to wipe my tears. Arnold, how are you so easy to trick? I was wrong, don't cry. I was even more confused. You didn't lose your memory? No, I was just teasing you. Just teasing me. His prankster mentality really made me angry and want to laugh at the same time. I punched him on the arm. Derek didn't dodge. Instead, he smilingly held my hand and kissed it. The friends beside us breathed a sigh of relief, then cursed with a laugh. I went to beg people to move their cars for you, and you're here playing flirting games? Respect, blessings, you two are locked in forever. Don't expect a wedding gift from me. So we were just part of your game? Unbelievable. Derek accepted it all, finally appeasing the public anger by promising to treat them to a seafood feast. After they walked away cursing, only the two of us were left in the car. Derek stopped smiling and looked down at me seriously. Arnold, don't worry. Even if I really lost my memory, I would still remember that you are my favorite person. I coughed lightly. Did you save me as boyfriend in your contacts too? That I didn't. Saying that, he took out his phone, tapped a few times and showed me. He had saved me as baby, representing his cherished adoration for me. Gentle and ambiguous as always. Derek, if I hadn't called you after I lost my memory back then, what would you have done? Me. Derek gently squeezed my hand. I probably wouldn't have been able to hold back for long. I would have chased after you, even if you might have rejected me. I wouldn't have rejected you. I leaned in, smelling the mix of leaves and laundry detergent on him, looking at the small scrape on his neck. Because I fell in love with you at first sight too. So I wouldn't have rejected you. Derek, let's date. Now that we are both clear-headed, let's date seriously. Derek was stunned, clearly not expecting the usually hesitant me to be so direct. Then, a brilliant light burst forth in his eyes, just as dazzling as the first time I saw him. Derek lowered his head and kissed me, serious and cherishing. Hello, I am officially your boyfriend now. Derek's POV. Yes, this patient has amnesia. I listened to the doctor's words, but in my head, the song Hallelujah was playing on a loop. Arnold had amnesia, yet inexplicably mistook me for his boyfriend. This was truly a blessing in disguise. My heart couldn't calm down for a long time. When I finally composed myself, I turned to see Arnold smiling at his phone, looking pure and beautiful. What are you giggling at? Embarrassed, he handed the phone to me. Derek, I have so many photos of you in my phone. How could I describe the shock of that moment? If the call earlier might have just been a wrong number, how to explain these candid photos? There was only one possibility. He liked me too. It was wonderful. The person I liked me back. But this was stolen happiness, and I was constantly afraid of losing it. I didn't expect the day of reckoning to come so fast. Arnold remembered everything, but thankfully, he didn't reject me, only acting a bit awkward and shy. In that case, it's even more impossible for me to let go. If you enjoyed this story, remember to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.